This section discusses how to manipulate the controls and perform a systems test on the life pulse. When the on button is pressed, the life pulse will activate into the standby mode with an audible alarm sounding. This alarm may be silenced by pushing the silence button once the control settings are displayed. The standby mode is indicated by a small light in the corner of the standby button in the controls section. When the 60-second alarm silence time has expired, the audible alarm will sound probably about 6 beeps every 30 seconds. And this is to remind you that the life pulse is in the standby mode and not ventilating the patient. It's just a little reminder that, are you sure you don't want to be operating? And if you say, yes, I'm sure, then you can press the silence button. There are only 3 setting parameters in the control section: PIP, or peak inspiratory pressure, rate, and jet valve on time, which is nearly synonymous with inspiratory time on a conventional ventilator. These settings may be changed by pressing the up and down arrow buttons next to their respective displays. It's important to perform a systems test to ensure that the life pulse is in good operating condition before you connect the system to a patient. A test lung must be attached to the patient end of a standard ET tube with a life port adapter attached prior to performing the test. The test lung doesn't have to be too fancy. It can just be a simple finger cot or the finger of a rubber surgical glove or latex glove taped lightly to the tip of the ET tube. The life pulse systems test will verify that the basic mechanical and electronic systems are functional. To perform the test, follow these steps. First, attach a life port adapter to an ET tube and test lung. Second, in the standby mode, connect the patient end of the life pulse circuit coming from the pinch valve to the jet port on the side of the life port adapter. Third, connect the clear pressure monitoring tube of the life port adapter to the patient box barbed connector labeled to pressure monitoring tube. Fourth, leave the 15mm connection open to the room. That is, there's really no need to attach a conventional ventilator to perform a test procedure. It's not necessary. Fifth, press the test button. When you press the test button, an automatic test begins, which determines the integrity of all the ventilator's electronics and valves. 6, observe the front panel of the life pulse to assure that all LEDs and displays are functional. And listen to make sure the audible alarm is functioning properly. If no problems are detected, all the ventilator displays will illuminate 1 through 9 in sequence, and all the alarm messages will be displayed. The test procedure will end with a life pulse in the standby mode and an audible alarm sounding. 7th, silence the audible alarm by pressing the silence button. There are only 3 alarms you can encounter during a test procedure. The most common failure during the test procedure is a ventilator fault with a code 02 appearing in the on-off ratio display. If you encounter this alarm, check the purge tube for a disconnect at the front panel or the patient box. A ventilator fault code 02 typically indicates there is a problem with the purge system on the life pulse. Also, make sure that you have the test lung attached to the life pulse circuit during the test. The ventilator fault code 2 will also occur if the pressure transducer in the patient box has failed. The other two alarms that can occur during a test procedure are a vent fault code 03 and a vent fault code 04. These alarms relate to gas flow and electronics respectively. Vent fault 3 is gas, vent fault 4 is electronics. They don't occur very often. They're very rare. And if you should encounter one, please call the Bunnell hotline, 800-800-4358. And as always, with any questions you have about the test procedure or a failure during the test, feel free to call the Bunnell hotline. Eighth, once the internal test has been passed, it's important to perform an operational verification test. This test will assure that the jet is going to come up to pressure, meet the ready condition, which will indicate that the jet is operating according to protocol. A conventional ventilator is not needed to perform the operational test, and the 15 millimeter connector of the LifePort adapter is just going to be left open to room air. Ninth, press the enter button to activate the default control settings. The default setting should be a PIP of 20, a rate of 420, and an I time of 0.02 or 20 milliseconds. When you press the enter button, the PIP in the monitor section will begin to rise in order to reach the set value in the control section. Tenth, once the PIP is stable for 20 seconds, the ready light will activate. Make sure the pressures are stable, and very important, make sure the PEEP is reading 0. Plus or minus 1 centimeter of water. It's got to be reading right around 0. 11th, if the PEEP is greater than plus or minus 1 centimeter of water from 0, just switch out the patient box and repeat the operational test. If you don't have an extra patient box, call the Bunnell hotline at 800-800-4358. And finally, following a successful test, place the LifePulse in standby mode and remove the test supplies before attaching the LifePulse to the patient. This is a very important step. Remember, after a completed test, to remove all test supplies and leave the LifePulse in standby mode.